real estate agent? Are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder podcast.
Good morning, everybody. Good Friday, everybody. Hello, well, it's not Good Friday. That's a mistake. But anyway, hello, everybody. It's Dave Finale here, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode number 175. And I'm so grateful to have a friend, someone I've known for a couple of years that has taught me an awful lot about persistence, about discipline, about principles in the real estate business. Jeff Bonk, Homes by Bonk. He is a local realtor in New Jersey. And he stays within he does mostly within Hoboken. That's right, Jeff, right? Am I correct there?
Right.
He has built a niche by being local and has done so many different things to do that. And we have people from all over the country, but we like to have local people to come on that are really crushing in their markets. And one of the things that Jeff does is he continually educates himself. And it's a great example for that. So Jeff, thanks so much for being on the broadcast today. I do need to ask you one question to get started. And that question is very, very simple. I ask the same question every day. So if you're a fan of the broadcast, you'll know the answer. And this is going to really tell if you ever watch them or not, is what does TGIF stand for?
I know the question and the answer. Thank God it's finale, man. Come on.
There you go, baby. Thank God it's finale. That is correct. That is the answer. Hey, man, thank you so much. I'm really happy that you're here. It's a lot of, I like to have a lot of fun, give value back. If anybody does not know, the reason I do these is I saw someone over 3 years ago doing a crappy job at doing these. And I wanted to make sure that I came out, gave value, brought differences of opinion, the art of differentiation to show. And Jeff, you know what? Thanks so much for being here.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Dave. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. You're the Cal Ripken Jr. of Friday broadcast. You're consistent as
I love that.
It's awesome. Dude. Super excited and blessed to be here today. Excited to talk to you with you.
Awesome, man. So I'm trying a new look today myself for this broadcast. I'm not sure I like it, but we'll see how everybody else likes it. Anyway, Jeff, look, I talked a little bit about you already. Talk to me. Tell me why Jeff Bonk got into real estate. Where'd you start? Where did it all come from, and why?
Yep. Absolutely. So my story is not unlike a lot of people's story who get into real estate for the reason that they're looking for something new, right? So I grew up in a world where I always liked real estate, always bugged my dad to buy me those infomercial, like how to flip houses, how to make money, how to bird dog, how to wholesale. But like that was like in high school, and it wasn't really a career that I was pursuing or something that interested me. Went to Rutgers, studied economics, got a job in finance, was selling insurance, selling stocks, selling bonds. Never truly resonated with the real industry of the selling of specific securities that I didn't know if it was the best fit for people. It was more what our company was pushing. And I worked my way up to a trading desk, and I was able to start trading middle markets in 2008, 2009. And the financial markets obviously were in a weird spot during those times, and a lot of companies were restructuring. So my company decided they were going to restructure, cut the trading floor in half, and I was one of the younger guys, and I was out looking for a new job. I didn't have any intention of getting my real estate license at that time, but a good friend of mine, Mike Hearn, who's still a good buddy of mine, who does a really good job in a adjoining market to us, said, to get your real estate your license. I know you've always liked the idea of getting into real estate investing. He's like, well, I have time to do it. So I listened to Mike, thank God, and I got my license, wound up going to work at RE/MAX where he worked at the time. And I was not really planning on staying there long term. Maybe doing it on the side, doing it for a little time, still looking for other jobs on Wall Street. And I just fell in love with the business, and also met my now wife, Danielle Drasher Bonk, who her and I hit it off immediately and started building this business together. So that was about almost 10 years ago now. And it took about 3 to 6 months of being in the real estate world and learning this world before I realized, look, that finance industry is behind me. This is the business I want to build. This is the business I want to grow. And this is the type of lifestyle that I want to lead. So that's my long and short story right there.
That's really cool, man. I mean, you came from one thing to the other, and just, I mean, I heard you talk about, bugging your dad to buy the infomercials. I mean, the one that was really famous for me and people of my age and before is Carlton Sheets. I don't know if you ever heard of Carlton Sheets. You know, buy real estate with other people's money. Don't spend a dime of your own. And you know what? It's funny. Now you get people to actually admit that they bought it and realize North Jersey, hey, it really doesn't work that well, but other parts of the country does. You know, so man, talk to me about you've been into business, right? Talk to me about being in that niche. You're in a niche. You do business everywhere. I don't want to pigeonhole you there, but I'm saying you have a specific niche. Tell me about the reason you decided to really hone in on Hoboken.
Yeah, so we realized early on in this business that there was really two ways to go about building a long-term sustainable business. And one way was getting super, super dialed in on prospecting, cold calling, cold prospecting, working new leads. And the other was to try to build as niche of a business as possible where you could be seen as an authority figure in that market. And it would take more time, but it would be more sustainable and less, day-to-day pushy work. Right. So we saw that and we said, how can we position ourselves? You know, we have to do work colder leads. We have to do open houses, but how can we then position ourselves to become the knowledge experts and the local experts here? And to your point, Dave, like we do almost all of our business in Hoboken and we're starting to expand outside. But as we expand outside, what we're doing is looking for other agents to partner with to help them do exactly what we did in those other markets here. So it's still the same type of business, but now it's expanding into other little markets and other feeder markets from here. So it's really, that is the philosophy we live by, regardless of if it's our core business or our business that we're expanding with other partners and other people on our team.
Okay, so let's talk about business development, but let's talk about Jeff Bonk first and how you developed your business, how you built your business, and how it started to expand, or shall we say expand using an org chart or a tree, however you want to look at it. Yeah. But tell me how that started. What was the thing that got you starting to make money first? Because you know, look, people are interested in how to make money. Realtors are interested, what is this guy doing? Right. And then did you ever get stuck? So let's take those processes together.
Absolutely. So out of the gates to get started, it was about commitment. It was about time on task, and it was about keeping your head down and worrying about the actions, not the results up front. I remember very vividly, it was about 6 months into my real estate career, and I probably like 3 months removed from deciding this is what I was doing full time, like no turning back. I'm leaving the finance industry behind. And I remember sitting in the office like 9 or 10 o'clock, and my broker at the time came out and said, don't quit. He was like, dude, don't quit, because you are putting in 10, 12, 15-hour days. You're making all the calls, you're working all the walk-ins, you're doing all the open houses, you're taking all the extra leads that other senior experienced agents can't take. And I see it bubbling up. It's about to come. So don't quit. So really the first thing you have to do is not quit. Like if you can outlast the rest of the people who are in and out, the 94% who don't make it in this business, it's really about how much power you have. So find out what that thing is. I'm a big believer, and we'll talk a lot today, I think, about a little bit more meta ideas and meta thought processes rather than the tactical things. Because in my mind, when I'm coaching our agents and people in our organization, it's about the tactics are easy. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Google, and you could find, like, they're simple. They don't change. They change maybe with a little technology spliced in here or there, a little bit of a different script depending on the kind of market you're in. But like, you work leads, you work open houses, you talk to your sphere, you do some marketing, you put out some content. And the key is the idea of getting busy and not quitting, right? And knowing that things are going to be tough and expecting that, and then being able to push through them when you see those times, not be surprised, kicked in the stomach by them. So my personal story, it was working open houses every single weekend. I didn't go to like an event on the weekend for almost 2 years. And I made that decision that I didn't want to cold call, but I need to meet new clients. So I'll give up my weekends and I won't cold call, and I'll go maybe play golf on a Wednesday or go snowboarding on a Tuesday, right? And make that trade.
So there are no cold calls?
No, not for me. Now, we do have agents on our team that do like cold prospecting. They want to dive into a niche deeper there, and we support that. We help them do that. I think it's a big part about being successful in this business is figuring out what you're going to do consistently and what is going to be enjoyable and fun for you enough that you're not going to quit at it. So if I had to cold call every day for years, I would have quit this business. And if other people had to do open houses every day, for every weekend for 2 years, they might have quit. It's finding out what that strength that makes sense for you is, and then leaning into it, as our friend Brett Sikora says, pour gasoline on it, right? That find out what that. So for me, it was open houses. And it was working referrals from other agents in our office who, back about 10 years ago, if you follow the kind of evolution of the real estate industry, teams were not quite what they are today back in 2010, 2011. So there's a lot of these top producing agents who kind of filtered their overflow of leads back down through the brokerage. And we were there raising our hands, everyone, give me the open house, give me that lead you can't handle, give me that rental lead, and taking everything we could and working them as hard as we could. The biggest thing that I think we did on top, like as we're taking those leads and kind of getting those fresh opportunities, is we treated everybody that we made contact with. If you proved to me that there was a person on the other end of the phone or the other end of an email address, we followed up with you and we treated you and we communicated with you like you were our cousin, our uncle, our sister, our best friend, and built deep relationships, regardless of what the price point was or what the location was that you might have inquired upon. If it wasn't exactly, a huge payday, or it wasn't exactly.
I want to emphasize something you just said, right? You talked about, people talk about, well, we'll treat you like family. You did not say that, Jeff. You said we treat you like a cousin, like a brother, like an uncle, right? Sincerity. I'm getting a lot more sincerity from you than I get from typical agents. That's one thing you're not, by the way. Go ahead, continue.
Thank you. Yeah. Being specific, right? Like not being that broad sweeping, we treat you like family cliche, like getting more, how can you resonate more with people and be a little bit more specific in the way that you communicate? So that's what we did. And to this day, like I can trace back 15, 20, $25 million of business over the last 10 years, just to like a single $1,000 or $1,500 rental inquiry. Because we rented them something, they referred us, then they bought something, and they referred us, and they bought something. And there's like 4 or 5 cases of that really built out a large chunk of our business data year to year. And it's because taking that approach on things. Now, that was our approach, and we were able to stay consistent. I was able to reach out to people over and over and over who may not have responded until we built that relationship. And other people, if that's not your jam, you want a cold call, you want immediate gratification, you want to try to get listings right out of the gate, that's cool too. Just make sure that you're going to be consistent with it for the long term and make sure that that's going to be that lever that you're able to pull every day when you come into the office.
I love that idea, how you did it. And I mean, there's, as I said, there's so much sincerity in what you're saying, right? And you just went forward and did it. You talked a little bit. I mean, we had a conversation earlier in the week about a lot of different things. But you talked about, you hit 3 things. It was about commitment, time on task, keeping head down. I just want to get back to that for a second, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like you play golf, I play golf. It's like the 3 things they tell you about golf. Keep your head down, follow through, and keep your eye on the ball.
Yep.
Keep your head down, follow through, keep your eye on the ball. It's the same thing. Commitment, time on task, keeping your head down. We said that, right? And it's really, really cool. So you mentioned a couple of key phrases, key words: meta ideas, meta thought processes. Bring me into that, please.
Yes. So it's almost like what drives everything else, right? What kind of belief systems do you have, or what type of overall operating system ideas, like the way that you operate or operate your business, that drive every other thing into it, right? So one of those things is like focus on your actions, not on the results, right? So that can go for a million things. That can go for creating content to do marketing. That can go for cold calling. That can go for working open houses. Once you know what you're going to do, focus on your actions, not on the results, is one of the biggest things that we preach here on our team. Another thing that we preach that is, I think, one of the key things if you want to have longevity in almost anything that's difficult, is to be ready for the difficult times. Know they're coming, expect them, and then celebrate them when you find them and you have the ability to push through them, rather than seeing them as a roadblock and something that is not expected and something that's going to slow you down, take you off course. Say, this was coming. I knew this was coming. It was any part of growth, right? Personal growth, business growth, organizational growth, anything like that. There's these moments that come that are tough. Like just physical, like working out, right? Same thing. There's a time, if you can run 5 miles, at that 5th mile, it gets tough, but you can push through. Knowing that toughness is coming is a key meta idea to push through the tough times and be willing and able and expecting them up front. So like, just for example, when we're we're rebranding some things right now, right? And we're having some headaches. No way I expected the rebrand smooth. So when we see a headache and we see a roadblock, damn, that's not getting in our way of getting this done right now. I knew it was coming. So I'm happy. I'm like, sweet. That means we're making enough progress that we're moving in the right direction, that we hit something that stopped us. Otherwise, we probably weren't making the right type of progress. And that's kind of the,
when we talk about, prepare. You said be ready for difficult times. Are we talking about for individuals? Are we talking about the market? What are you talking about? And explain that a little bit, because people say, "What I'm supposed to like manifest bad times?"
No, so that's a great point, Dave. And I think the answer is yes and yes, right? I'm talking about it for the market. I'm talking about it for individuals. I'm talking about it for an organization. And we're not manifesting that. It's almost like setting the expectation for something to not let it blow you up later, right? So let's talk about back in that time where I was sitting there 6 months into the business and I knew things were tough and things weren't working. I wasn't expecting that. So I needed my coach, my mentor at the time, my broker, to come out and tell me, hey, everything's okay. You're doing the right things. I see your trajectory. So what I took from that is that every time I bring a new agent on, I'm going to plant a seed that there's going to be a moment in time, 3 to 6 months from now, where they're going to be in what we now call the valley of despair for a new agent. It's going to come. There's no chance it's not coming. You're going to work your butt off. You might get lucky with an early deal. You might get lucky with something that clicks early. But overall, you're going to feel like you're doing a lot more work than the results you're getting. But now the fact that I've armed you with that Mr. New Agent or Mrs. New Agent, you can now 3 months, 6 months from now be like, that's right. This is supposed to happen. Awesome. That means I'm on the right track. Now we can push through. Another small example, right? Like I think I might have mentioned this to you a couple of days back when we were talking. I'm a weirdo. Like I do weird things. I mess with my diet all the time, my workout routines, and I've been big into fasting lately, right? Doing intermittent fasting and even 24, 48-hour fasts. And I was watching a video and he said, around 24 hours, if you've never fasted for more than 12, 18 hours, you're going to get a headache. It's coming. Be ready for it. If you don't get it, count your lucky stars, but 95% of you guys are going to get this when you first try it. But he said, now that you know this, you know that something's not wrong and you don't need to rush and go grab something to eat. And you know this is part of the process so you can push through it. It applies for everything else in life, that kind of mentality. Whenever you're trying to grow, do something that's even slightly difficult, you have to know that there's going to be a challenge and be ready for it and celebrate it rather than let it take you down.
So, all right. So I want to hone in on that a bit, and I want to talk a little bit about that a little bit more. So when we talk about, you talked about for new agent, valley of despair. So basically you're telling them you have to realize that you're going to have this feeling in 3 to 6 months. You're doing all the work and nothing's happening, right? I like to call that, and correct me if this is not something you would look at. I like to call that it's your phase of building momentum in your business, right? Where you continue to do the work, where everything you're doing today may not be realized for 3 to 6 to 9 months, but you continue to build that. It's just like getting no's all the time. If you were a cold caller, right? You keep building and building and building. And basically, instead of saying, you're going to want to quit in 6 months, he says, look, everything of your hard work is going to be worth it. And basically what I'm calling that is the valley of expectation rather than despair, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You elaborate a little on that? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think the reason that I like kind of over exaggerating the negative on it. And so the overall, what we're looking at the growth in a year, right? So this is just a stop along the way. It's not like we're trending towards this valley of despair. It's not like we're saying like, that's the goal. That's the thing we're working towards. We're saying what we're working towards is your goal, 20 deals this first year, 15 deals, 25 deals, whatever that is. But along the way of the process, there will be this time. And it's almost like setting lower expectations than over delivering. So if you say like, you're going to walk, down the road and there's going to be this huge, steep, crazy hill and it's going to be really tough to get up. And then it's kind of like pretty steep, but not like a cliff that you're climbing. The feeling that you get is a feeling that easily moved through, right? So I get where you're coming from, where you don't want to set like this negative connotation or anything like that, but almost like, because we know it's going to be tough. We know, like we've all been through it and we've seen new agents go through it all the time. So setting an from, and also letting that weed people out early. Like if a new agent, when in an interview, I talk about this in an interview when we're hiring people for the team. If that scares them off, like good, because that is
Right.
You're not going to make it if the idea of some tough times you're not able to move through that. So it's almost like that kind of setting a low bar so that you could overproduce, and what's the word I'm looking for?
Overachieve?
Not overachieve, but under promise and over deliver. Almost like that.
Right. No, you know what? When you said, when you use the analogy of the mountain or the cliff or the hike or whatever it was, where it's going to be really steep, you got really trouble, and you get there, it's like, that was it, right? That was it. Okay, I get that, right? So basically, you're all you're doing is you're actually telling the possibility of the future where they may feel it. But here's the one thing that I do know. I know that you don't look at life like I do. I know that you don't look at me like I look at me, right? So if I gave you my life story and you knew my life story, it would be two completely different books, right? Completely. You're just helping them manage expectations on what's coming. One of the things we talked about the other day, and if this goes along with the thought process, and I believe it does, is one of the things I loved about our conversation was we talked about always be ready to make a correction when you need to, right?
Yeah.
And you said always look to course correct. And it's not a start and stop. It's a course correct. Talk to me about your business, how you built it, and where it is now.
Absolutely. So the overall thought process there, right, is this analogy we've all heard, whoever it's attributed to, Tony Robbins, Dale Carnegie, probably not Dale Carnegie, because the airplane is the analogy, and airplanes may not have been as prominent back in his day, written book 100 years ago, but the airplane that takes off from New York trying to get to LA needs to course correct constantly, or it winds up in Seattle, right? So the idea that once you take off and you have an initial runway and an initial path of the way you want to go,
right,
you have to know that may or may not be where you end based on your course corrections, right? So let's say you want to build out a new marketing plan, and your marketing plan consists of creating this much content a week and this much, hiring someone to execute on it, and then putting it out on these platforms. And then all of a sudden, Facebook changes their algorithm, Instagram puts out a new this, that, or the other thing, and what you put in motion doesn't work anymore, doesn't apply. Now, you have to be ready to course correct on that. The theory is you still want to put out a marketing plan. You still want to draw people to your brand and to your team. But exactly. Now what's the new way that you can approach that, and the new way that you can course correct to get to the everlasting goal? It's just like a wind coming and hitting the plane, right? Or like them having to get above or below some turbulence. They might have to move around, but they have to know what their end destination is, what their real high level goal is, and the tactics and those little small details may or may not be important depending on the environment that they're in that day. So it's a matter of just knowing that anytime things are going too smooth as well, you're probably stagnant, and you need to almost get yourself into a place where you need to course correct and need to kind of move around a little bit.
Awesome. I love that whole process, because it's anticipatory, it's expectations, it's knowing that you're going to need to make changes. I can talk about a good friend of mine on the West Coast who does an awful lot of business. You know him, Kyle Whissel, who a year ago decided he decided to trash all of his systems and restart. And this is a guy doing at that time probably 350 million a year. Now he's up to 500. Wow, I wonder why he made the change, right? Yeah. So he rebuilt all his systems, and didn't really add many people. He did, but the point was that he course corrected because he knew that his trajectory is more. It's the same thing, in my opinion, about goals, Jeff. And I want to know what you think about this. When we're set goals, a lot of times we get to the goal and we say, okay, that's it. We made the goal. What now, right?
Right.
But the right way to do it is to set the goal, and as you get to it, you start reaching higher and higher and higher. I know with me, I run a few times a week, and when I reach my goal of whatever that minute per mile is, every time I've achieved it, I've done that. And now I realize my goal is not that number. my goal is daily improvement, right? Daily improvement. I keep setting it up and I commit to it. Hey, look, you know what I ran this morning? Did I want to? Nope. I wanted to stay in bed. But here's the thing. When I wake up, got to run today, that mind that's in my head, I got to get going. So when we talk about that, it's you're going to have to adjust. So I want to transition from there into the difference or the differentiation that you found in your business and how you built it. So you went from a single agent and started building a team. You and I have talked about lead management. We've talked about lead generation. We've talked about different things. Talk to me about what you've had to do with the intricate parts of lead generation to lead management, because I think that's something that people don't understand.
Yep.
And you have developed a great lead management system for conversion. So there's lead generation and there's lead conversion. Everybody forgets about the middleman.
Yep, absolutely. And I think what you were flirting with in the beginning of that question was the idea that it's a completely different skill set, mindset, and daily practice to be a good real estate agent and building a team and building a successful team, right? So when it was, and even when we had an assistant and then eventually like a rental agent, someone was just handling like our overflow of leads, it was part-time. That skill set was completely different. I needed to be able to talk to clients, explain the market, work through things, like be consistent on my own follow-up, my own lead gen, and my own marketing and my own just actions of doing open houses and like doing the client-facing stuff. Once we realized that we really wanted to build a team proactively, so like we kind of had this organic team that started to form just from us having more business that we could handle and wanting to keep it kind of under our umbrella as teams became more and more prominent in the real estate industry, rather than just kind of like partnering up with a referral type of agent. We said, this is really fun helping other people succeed in the real estate industry. And the real estate industry is getting more and more difficult to succeed in on your own. Technology coming in, Zillow charging everyone for leads, all kinds of different headwinds that are coming into the real estate industry. We said, let's proactively hire agents. And so we started doing that. And I didn't realize at the time that I now needed to completely flip my mindset on what my daily job was, what my business was. It was the business of coaching agents, holding agents accountable, which is the number one thing that I think a lot of young teams and teams that are not fully kind of scaling the way they want to work, because they just assume that everyone's accountable to themselves, because that's how they their first few years, but accountable to a system, accountable to a process that all works together, right? So if we build out an amazing transaction department who handles all the files, like how do we connect those things? We have to hold everyone accountable to communicating properly, working those leads properly, working together. So what I realized is that I need to systemize this a lot more than what it was before, because it was kind of organic before. It was more whatever, we were taking leads from everywhere we can get and kind of just working them in the way that we knew that would work. But we needed to figure out what were the key components of that we can put into a process, into a system, into something that can show up every day for an agent and say, very easy, open this website and click on these buttons and it'll show you who to talk to. It'll tell you what to say to them, and then you move them through a pipeline in a very specific way. Each part of that pipeline should be handled in a different way. Different kind of marketing goes to them on the back end. So you need to be following up on the front end in the right way and really building out a system to it, rather than this kind of organic, just be out there talking to people and business comes type of philosophy that a lot of really good agents who don't leap to that next part of the trajectory of a team growth or even individual growth. So it really becomes like there's a great book, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it was called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. So you need to realize when you're at that point, and you need to find out what your skill sets are. And the hardest thing is letting go of a lot of the stuff that got you there, right? For forever, what got me to being a reasonably successful agent, Red and I, was following up with clients 5 hours, 6 hours a day. And I thought I still needed to do that as I was building a team. And when I realized that I wasn't able to put the time and energy into helping my team, if I was going to continue to follow up with clients and leads 5, 6 hours a day myself. So I literally needed to shift my focus, take it out of that and put it into building these systems, building these lead gen, these conversion, all these different systems, rather than spending my time on my and it's a risk, right? It's scary, right? It's changing your whole dynamic of how you built your baby and shifting it to something different.
Your risk, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, hold on a second because I'm having some issues. One sec. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. The risk that you talked about, a risk you're taking, right? Is the risk not doing the follow up? Is the risk in the mindset or the fear or the gut wrenching fear of not doing the follow up and going to something else? Is it the risk not participating in deals? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, the risk is essentially you knowing that you have a finite amount of time every day, and running a successful real estate individual practice takes a lot of time and energy to do 15, 20, $25 million worth of volume yourself. So if you're going to take that energy there and you're going to give that energy to training agents, hiring agents, building out systems, hiring staff, doing marketing, doing lead gen, doing conversion, you no longer have the energy and the time to put into doing 15, 20, $25 million of sales a year. So that's going to go down for personal production. And you have to make that choice that I'm willing to risk my own personal production, going out and building more proactive business for myself, because I do enjoy, want, and have a real desire to build an organization to, one, make money in the long term. Might be a gap in the middle, might be able to be a smooth transition. It's a slow down to speed up, like you just talked about with Kyle, right? Rebuilding all the systems to for the future. So you have to be willing to slow down, to speed up, to help others, to impact more lives. Like right now, I have weird goals. I don't have income goals or volume goals. I have agents making X amount of money on my team in my organization goals, because I want to help people grow and have that lifestyle, right? So changing that goals, that mindset, and that goal is scary, because you're leaving you're not giving enough time to the thing that you know works, that you built, that you know you can.
Right. Yep. So a lot of this is one of the biggest problems of shifting from an individual to a team. And I mean, I've heard it so many times in my years of owning the brokerage. And since then, I talk to agents and say, well, I think I'm going to start a team. I should start a team. People say I should start a team, that they come work for you. My first question to them is, what are your processes? What are your systems? What are your tools? Yep. What is, let's say their name is John Smith. What is the John Smith way of doing a transaction? Is that what you want all your team members to do? Oh, no, they can do it any way they want. Really? What kind of control are you going to have over your agents? Now, look, Jeff, you know as well as I do that people are going to have their own ways of doing things, their own ways of talking. God knows I've got my own way of talking. And the point I'm making is that, but there's still the process of how we do things here at Homes by Bonk. There's still the process of how I do things at Real Estate Skill Builder. And that's how I want them done when I have my VAs doing the work and ISAs and all that stuff. It's got to be done my way, right? So was that something that worried you about, being able to tell people this is the way it's going to be done? Was that one of the things that got in your way, or did you just said, screw it, this is my way, you don't want to do it, you can't be here? No,
that's definitely something that both got in my way and is still in my way to a certain degree, right? I think it's personality type. I'm a very people pleasing, don't want to rock the boat, don't like confrontation type of personality. It's how my parents were, it's how I was raised, and it's just the kind of person that I am, that I don't like conflict. I don't like being authoritative in any way. So how I am overcoming that, and how I have overcome that, is by first of all, taking an approach where everything we're doing is for the agent's benefit on the team, right? None of it's for Homes by Bonk's benefits or my benefits. I can make more money and have probably a better lifestyle today just going back to production than I would. We have 6 awesome agents on our team, but it's a lot of work to manage the infrastructure and
right.
cost too, right? So it's not about me at all. It's about literally the agents on the team, the current and future agents on the team, and wanting them to be successful and want to help them get there. So as soon as I flipped that, I said, my way or the highway doesn't really apply here. It's what is the way, right? What is the new way to both make the business profitable and make the agent's lifestyle and income profitable and the way that they want to live? And now let's create a new way, because the old way didn't work. Like, I don't expect everybody to give up 2 years of weekends to work open houses. That's kind of unreasonable. I'm a psycho, right? I did that, but everyone's not going to do that. So like, what is the bare minimum standard? What are the levels and the things that we can say, like, look, if you're willing to do this, this is what we have. and that works, right? And we can be in business together and make money. If you're not willing to do at least, like, we give you 10 leads a week, if you're not going to call them all 10 times in the first 10 days, I can't spend money on those leads. It just doesn't make sense. But as long as you're willing to do that, you don't need to work 18-hour days like I did the first 2 years. If you don't want to, that's fine. Let's find a new way that this whole organization works together and build an infrastructure around it, right? And also support that from the back end.
Yeah, I love it. I love the way you built that and the attitude toward it. I've spoken in the beginning about local, about Jeff Bonk and Homes by Bonk in Hoboken, right? So you do a lot of local niche things, right? You do one of the things is you do a lot of different things, right? You do local niche things, you do things to help other realtors, and you do things to help communities and to promote other things. Talk to me about your processes and systems that you use to build the Hoboken niche and what you're doing along with Red and everybody else on your team.
Yep. So first thing I would suggest is marry the most social butterfly that you could find and put her on your and let her free. So no, but like, all joking aside, is getting off the ground the first couple of years, like, and then we'll get the systems and stuff we're doing now a little bit more like, automatically. It was just getting involved in everything. Get like something Hoboken, we're there. And we're not there like, hey, we're the realtor, give us your business. We were just there making friends, building relationships, getting into new groups, getting into new organizations. It could, like, we got a dog, all of a sudden we're meeting people at the dog park all the time. We got kids, all of a sudden there's all these kids activities we're doing, and just always being out in the community. Red's on every board and every different committee there is for our community and our building. We live in a larger community uptown. We're at city council meetings the other night. We were at the Hoboken Art Gala, just meeting new people. We met like 3 new people, and real estate didn't even come up, but now we have 3 new people that we're friends with that we're going to get the kids together, or we're going to go meet they said, come to the council meeting. There's this big thing going on. Why don't you come help us out? So it's just getting involved in your community, right? Doing it with no real agenda, because people smell an agenda coming a mile away. And
absolutely,
if you talk to 20 people and you tell all 20 that you're a real estate agent, if you ever need any help, let me know and I'm happy to help you, blah, 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 like right out of the gate, maybe you get 1 deal, the other 19 people get turned off. But if you meet 20 people who are a good person and you're a part of the community and you are genuinely interested in them and building a relationship, over the next 5 years, you'll probably do business with 10 or 15 of those 20 people, right? So it's a matter of getting involved on like almost a grassroots organic level as a single agent, as a newer agent in a community, to get your initial feet on the ground. Now what we do is a little bit different. Right now, there's video content that we're creating. We're interviewing business owners. We're doing Hoboken market updates. We have mailers going out about the market and what's going on in specific buildings, educating the consumer. We're doing a lot of charity and fundraising events that we market and get out there and try to mobilize the community to kind of help different causes that are important to us as well. We're on the Facebook and Instagram message boards and different hashtags and things like that, proactively putting content and connecting with relationships there as well, and really systemizing a lot of that stuff through some of our admin staff and also some of our agents out there who are getting involved in different things that appeal to them. Like one of our awesome agents, Kelly, is a huge yoga instructor, and she's out there, meeting people in that world and that capacity and really helping relationships there. So it's a matter of finding that, kind of almost back to what we were talking about, is finding your strength, open houses, cold calling, door knocking and then leaning into it in a proactive, like actual purposeful way. So like we love going to the parks with our kids, and we love doing all the community events that come along with being a young family in this community. So we just make sure we don't miss any of them. We go to all of them, and the business that we've created and the general, like, just draw to who we are in the community just naturally, organically expands while we do that. And splicing them into a lot of our marketing, a lot of our social media stuff, like showing what a lifestyle is for the type of client that you're trying to attract. Like, what does a young family do in Hoboken on the weekends? I'm putting up stuff of what's going on in the community all the time, at the park, at this event, or whatever it is, and really becoming, a magnet to the type of people. And then your real estate stuff starts coming, right? And they understand that you're in real estate, but you're also the type of person who understands what lifestyle they may be looking for.
So you're putting up all different kinds of content, and you're doing that social media, of course, right? You're putting up content about what's going on in the area. You're putting up content about what you're doing, and I got to do it a side question, right? Did you buy the dog for real estate, or you wanted to have a dog?
You asked me already, but she's.
All right. What's that?
I said depends if you ask me or read that question, but now she's my baby too. So I love dogs too.
All right, cool. So
Like $1 million.
So if you were going to give a list of a number of things that an agent should do to build a community, build community info to build their business, would there be something that's set in stone, or would it be all different things? And what types of videos and what type of content would it be? Because you are an expert in doing this, because you do it so very, very well.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. So there's two main things that pop up that are like the cornerstones of any kind of content campaign for a community in my mind. And the number one is market updates, right? We've done them everywhere from weekly,
100%.
monthly, depending on what type of market you're in, depending on what season you're in, depending on how dynamic your market is and how much it changes on a weekly basis versus monthly. I think quarterly is too long. Personally, I think a monthly is at the minimum. And making sure that you're putting out content, even if it's just your own low spirit first, and then you can start putting some money behind it. You can start building some funnels where you're starting to bring people in and kind of posting and boosting back to them, running retargeting ads, but just start getting it out there. So at least when you meet somebody, they go to look you up, they see that your content is there and you're an expert on that market. People have to know you, like you, and trust you, right? To do business with you. One of the old adages. And trusting.
Oh, yeah.
Trust is built through people looking at you and seeing that you know what's going on in the market. So that's number one. Number two for any market is being an expert on things outside of the real estate market. What's going on in the community? What is the new hot restaurant? Who's the restaurant that's been here for years that everyone should know about? There's a secret menu on this place. These guys opened up their 4th location and they have the best X and the best Y. We did something pre-COVID, which we're actually launching back next month again, which is 5 Question Fridays, which we ran about 15, 20 episodes of, which was, we went to a Hoboken business owner and we just asked them 5 questions. Why'd you open in Hoboken? What's the best thing about your business? What's your favorite thing to do in Hoboken? And it was all about their business and the community and how they mesh together, right? So we're always doing things like that, be it a post that's saying, hey, the Arts and Music Festival this weekend, or a 10, 15-minute video interviewing one of the hottest, new, oldest, whatever it is, restaurants or businesses. Those are the two things communities are related. But there's a third thing that I think, regardless if you're going after a niche market or if you're really looking to just expand any kind of real estate practice in any broader market, you have to be organic. You have to post stuff about you, if you have a family, your family, if you have a hobby, your hobby, if you have a passion, your passion, because people have to know, like, and trust you, right? So they have to know you, that's putting stuff out. They have to trust you, that's being a local expert, but they have to like you too, right? Like if you are a cold person who has no organic stuff on social or on any kind of platform, when people are to look you up, the person right next to you that has something that makes them more personable, makes them more likable, is going to draw in that contact and that lead a little bit easier and a little bit more organically. So putting out those 3 different things, the updates, the local knowledge broker, and then just stuff about you. You got to be humanistic. You have to be approachable, in my mind, to really build that complete market awareness of who you are and what you do.
So you on social media, you've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, and others too. But I want to just hone in a little bit on Facebook and stuff. So I know you're doing stories. I know you have your personal page. Do you have a business page? Do you have community pages? What's important there? Because you talked about doing ads and you need a business page for that. So talk to me about what your makeup of that part of social media is.
Sure. So our makeup, we have all 3. We have our personal page, our business page, and we have community pages. And I think the key is making sure you're making a real plan for all your content where it's most effective. So like some stuff just doesn't make sense on your personal page, or some stuff just doesn't make sense in your business page, but a lot of it can go cross posting, right? And it could be on both pages, it could be shared from one page to the other. And I think the key is that you can't have a business page that's just all your listings, right? A lot of people,
right?
Listing. It's 2% of the market that care about that right now. What about the other 98% that you're trying to build relationships with for the future? So how do you splice in local market content about the restaurants, the events and things like that? How do you splice in who you are to that page and link them back and forth in a natural way where it doesn't look like you're just have a straight agenda of pushing listings or pushing your real estate market updates down someone's throat? So that's a little bit more, in my opinion, you have to almost wait a little while to get some type of authority in the marketplace on your personal page before it's even worth opening up your business page. So I always tell our agents when they were going to new markets, especially, treat your personal page like it's everything. You're going to put your business there, personal stuff there. You're going to put your community stuff there.
Just lost sound. Just lost your sound.
Back.
Go ahead. You're back. Yeah, go ahead.
Once you start having some traction there, and you already have eyeballs there, you already have an organic SOI, sphere of influence on your personal platforms. Now you can start splicing in, creating that business page and putting some more of your business and community content there, sharing that back to your personal page, because you've already kind of established the fact that you are a real estate professional with your sphere. Now you build that business page, start putting stuff there, and then you can start boosting some ads through it, creating a bigger ecosystem of what you're doing, rather than just trying to pigeonhole everything just down to your organic reach. But if you try too early, like what is this page? Who is this person? And even your own sphere is going to say, I didn't even know Jeff was selling real estate. What's going on? Why does he have a business page all of a sudden? Does he even know what he's doing? But if you have a few months of content going onto your personal page, it's a nice runway for it.
So let's take it one step further, okay? So you've got your personal page, you got a business page, you got a community page. And hopefully by the time you get the engine really rolling, get the train really going, they're all working together. You're pushing one thing for the other, sharing here and there, and maybe and probably also posting raw uploads to each of the same thing.
Right.
What about groups? What about joining other groups and getting involved in other groups? Because one of the things that I help people with who don't have a big following is to get involved with groups. Don't talk so much. Don't post so much. Have you been able to do that? Get involved in Hoboken groups and other real estate groups that would help your business?
Yeah, for sure. I'm by no far the expert on it, and I think you're probably the authority more than I am on that. But we do it in an ancillary way, I guess is the best way to say. So there's a lot of groups in Hoboken that are not my group, right? It's not. We have a Hudson T group. We have a We Love Hoboken page. But there's also just like the Hoboken page has like 7, 10, 15, 20,000 people on it, right?
Right.
How do you get in that group and not going in there and posting your listings and all that stuff is just, you look like a salesperson, right? So how do you come in there and become a member of the page rather than that? And we found that in a few different ways. One is anytime we take a listing, we encourage our clients to post their own listing, which is our listing, into those groups, right? And that creates an organic
great process,
right? We have an email template that goes out. Hey, here's a link to your listing on all these sites. Feel free to share it into these places. It'll be effective and help people. And coming from you is way more organic. It's going to get better reaction than ours. So we're in there doing that. The other thing, because we kind of work within these groups and we connect in these groups with all of our clients, the second someone asks for a realtor or for an agent in the town, we have 4 or 5 different past clients jumping in there and recommending us because we put them in that group to share their listing when we sold their property, right? So they're kind of conditioned that like, this is a playing ground for us. And it's someplace where they can help us make connections. And the other thing is being a good member of the community in there, where someone asks a question new to the town, looking for this, looking for that, help becoming an engager, getting in there, connecting with people. And if you see somebody, you have a couple of mutual friends, this is something that I am doing more of recently. You have a couple mutual friends, they ask a question, you look like you have something in common, go ahead and friend request them and see if you can start building a more organic following on your personal page or connection to your personal page based on people that are in those community pages that might be future clients that are worth connecting on a more intimate level.
So the important part there that I heard was become an engager, but the way you've done that, Jeff, the way I see it is a lot of people will try to, and this is, to me is the wrong way, try to all automatically start posting stuff, interject their opinion on whatever things are going on. And that is, to me, absolutely the opposite way that it should be done. Our niches are a lot different. And what I've tried to do and been successful with it is pick my spots to comment, pick my spots to post, So now when I do this broadcast every Friday, I am posting this broadcast on many, many groups, which is what I do at the beginning of the broadcast so that a lot of people can see it. And what it does is it gets my face out there, my name out there. And there's so many times, and what you're doing is niched to Hoboken. I'm doing it niched all around, is I'll go to places where people know me and I have no idea who they are, right? Yeah. Mostly real estate agents. For you, does it happen to you that you go to a store or whatever, says, oh, you're that Homes by Bonk guy?
It does. It happens at restaurants a lot. And then when I give my credit card to pay, they're like, I thought you were Bonk. And I thought I saw you on a sign somewhere, and they'll read the credit card name because they're like a little embarrassed to ask it up front. But yeah, it's once in a while, right? It's not huge, but it means it's working. It means that the marketing, and I always say, oh, great, my marketing's working, right? It's a land air approach. Having signs up, it's being on.
Right. It's just it's so important to be able to get everything out there and be able to go out and have people know who you are because you're doing everything. And people will say that, how the hell do I do all that stuff? You know what? It's one thing at a time. It's one thing at a time that you keep adding, as you have done. You've transitioned from, being that open house realtor to being a team leader of a great team that's not only building locally, but building exponentially in radius, right? One after the other and moving forward. Jeff, we're coming up on time, and I just, want to ask you if there was something that you could tell either a new agent, a stuck agent, or an experienced agent that would help them with their business, would there be one thing, two things that you would offer that for?
Yeah, I think, one thing is what you almost just touched on there was this thing doesn't get done overnight. As one of our other mutual friends out on the left coast likes to say a lot, Dan Beer, his business, which will close like $700 million in sales or something this year, all it is a business that layered on 1 to 3 new things quarter after quarter after quarter that compounded. Right. One of the biggest takeaways or one of the biggest pieces of advice, because it resonates with me more than anything, I have to tell myself this almost every single day, to slow down. It's one thing at a time, one thing implemented, one thing put in place, and then compounded on day after day, week after week, quarter after quarter, and know where you want to go. Know the next few things you need to do, but don't be obsessed with the things that need to be happening a year from now, 2 years from now. Don't look at someone who's 10 years in the business and say, I'm a year in the business and stressed out and overwhelmed that you're never going to get there. Know that this thing is a journey. And one of my favorite books, if I could recommend any book to anybody in this business, is the Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And there is this visual in that book. There's 3 guys who start off on the left-hand side of the page, and one guy starts doing what needs to be done to get where he wants to go. The next guy does nothing different. The next guy starts bad habits. And they go like this for 90% of the page. And then one goes, and one guy stays straight. And it's a matter of identifying what those things are, knowing where you want to go, but then staying consistent, letting the work that you're doing compound, and focusing on your actions and not the results. It's something I talk about probably every day, if not to myself, to somebody else on the team or someone else that I'm just talking to in general.
So all right. So I've got to ask you this question. It's going to be more, it's something that I have issues with, I have trouble with, is I've got a list of things, and every agent's got a list of things they want to do. They want to do video. They want to make sure they post on Instagram and social. They want to do reels. They want to do TikTok. They need to get out there and door knock, or they want to make cold calls. Yep, they got to do open houses, but they got to do the video for the open house, and they got to do this, they got to do that. They've got all this list of freaking things they got to do, right? Yep. Then, not only do they have those lists of what they've got to do, they've got these projects they want to work on. Okay, so they want to get really good at Instagram, and they got to get their content calendar done. And then they want to learn how to do YouTube, and they want to do this. What the hell do you do? I mean, it's like, it's all this shit coming at you at once, all this great stuff that you want to do. Is it, Jeff, the question is, with all that being said, is it one thing at a time to finish one thing, or are you blocking 20 minutes for this, 20 minutes for that? What do you think is the best way? Because you've been very successful in putting all these pieces together.
Yep. Thank you. And I think I don't want to say it depends, but it almost depends on what stage of the game you're in, right? So right now, like I literally wrote a list down this morning, and there's 4 different things. I was in a place, this week was kind of a crazy week for me. I was all over the place. And today I had a little bit of a light morning before we got on this broadcast. So I said, all right, let me just collect my thoughts. What the heck am I working on right now? So I have about 16 projects in the air with our assistant right now. And we just kind of listed them all out earlier this week. And we decided there's one that has to get done before we are even allowed to talk about the rest. But for the last month, we've been kind of setting the stage for a bunch of these different place things, figuring out what is the most important one to be worked at. And that one bubbled to the top. And now we're knocking that one out, and that one's getting executed upon. But on top of that, there's 3 or 4 other things that I need to be focused on a daily basis at this stage of the year, at this stage of my career, at this stage of my business. So now I have 3 time blocks for the rest of the day after this meeting to execute on each one of them, and set my calendar up for next week to execute on each one of those pieces. I've identified they're important. Back earlier in my career, there was one thing that was important. It was following up with people every single day, like a psychopath, right? So like there was one thing then, and now there's 3 things. But last week there were 16 things. And I think it's a matter of knowing that, keeping an open mind and keeping an open thought process on the fact that that's fluid, right? And the fact that it's not always going to be so clear and easy. So the one thing I could tell you, if you're in the place right now that you have 50 things that are on your mind that you want to do, and you can't, everything from following clients to getting better on Instagram and doing open houses. You're a basketball fan. I know we both went to Rutgers, all the Rutgers NCAA team. Get a bracket like that. Print out a blank black bracket and put everything on the edges. 64 of them, 32 of them, whatever there are. Play them off each other until you can get to the final 4 and the number 1 piece. And that's your one thing, that's your biggest priority. And then the next 3 that are on the final 4 brackets are your next biggest priorities. And all the rest of them, they're there. They're safe. They're on that piece of paper. You can come back and do this exercise again once you knock off some of those other projects, if they're a finite project. And then you can move on from there, because sometimes it's hard to visualize. I do the same thing when I come back from conferences. I take all my notes and I put them on one of those brackets and I play them off each other until I get to the one thing. This is more important, or this? Nope, this one, and move it down. And then boom, circle that one thing in the middle. That's the first project we implement before we even look at the other ones.
I absolutely love that idea, because with me, I know we're on time, but I gotta go through this one little thing. As I believe that my mind, and I use a lot of agents that I'm sure, I mean, you've got this organized, you got this shit together, man. And it's blowing my mind, because my mind is what I call a white puzzle, right? I unload my mind, okay? And my very, very good friend, Grant Wise, helped me with this. I went down for a full day, 2 days of one-on-one coaching with Grant Wise a few years ago. We sat in his room, and there was like a 30-foot wall that was a whiteboard. He threw a marker at me and says, "Get everything out of your head," because I was there to build something and I needed his help. I stood at the board for 30 minutes, didn't write a thing. I wrote one thing, and then it all came out. Wow. The entire board was filled. He came back 2 hours later. We sat in his room and we took one thing off the board at a time, and we did it in order for the project we were working on.
Awesome.
So I call my head a white puzzle. I know if anybody doesn't know what that is, if you've ever seen a jigsaw puzzle, it's got a picture on it of a stream of this, of that. But they make puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, that are all one color, white. Wow. And that is nuts. It's even hard to put the edges together. So, guys, you're not alone, who's ever watched this to the end, and thank you if you did, that it's completely there. Okay, so I went on, and I want to thank you so much for being on today. How do people get in touch with you? We've got it scrolling on the board. We've got it on the frame here. What's the best way to reach you? Anywhere.
I mean, the website, the email, the phone number there. Find me on Instagram, Facebook. It's Jeff Bonk everywhere. Twitter, LinkedIn. I mean, I don't even use Twitter, so don't hit me up on Twitter. I think I have an account, but I won't. But any of the other ones, hit me up. Get me on the cell is the best way. I'm accessible any way anybody needs. If you have any questions about real estate, the team that we're growing, anything, I'm always happy to help and jump on a call with anybody. So never hesitate. And Dave, I do want to hammer one final point home that you just brought up. That the more I see people and talk to you, like you seem like you doing 175 straight broadcasts, man. Like, how could you not have it together? How could you not have, like, to me, I'm thinking you got your stuff so, and you're looking at me saying, I don't have my stuff doctored. I'm a mess. Are you kidding me? And everyone I talk to that's doing more business than me, and I'm like, oh, this guy must have get up at 6:59. Like, no, they're a mess too. It's just continuing to go. It's just keep going. Don't stop. You always think that everyone else has it together. They don't, man. They're doing the same thing you're doing, and they've just been doing it longer or spending more time doing it. So that's
you know what's really interesting about that is that we meet people in our lives, and there's one probably the biggest and best coach. I'm not going to use his name, but that I worked with for a long time, and I spent a long weekend with him a couple of years ago with another guy. It was a coaching weekend, and it's like you think these people are really special. They're really special. Don't get me wrong, but you think they've got it all together and they don't goof around at all, and they're really serious. But you really get to know somebody when you spend 48, 72 hours with somebody straight, about all the ins and outs. And for me, I mean, yeah, I'm up between 4:30 and 5:30 every day. It doesn't mean I've got my organization together. I work on it every day, just as you do. Yep. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I got two other things really quickly. How do I, Dave Finale, Real Estate Skill Builder, help you grow your business?
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to see a missed week forever. And that consistency inspires me. That consistency inspires me. And just keep doing what you're doing, giving back to the community, man. That's all anyone could ask for, I think. And it's a great broadcast. I'm just honored to be on it. Humbled with some of the people you've had before and they will have after. But yeah, that's just keep up the example, man.
Thank you so much, man. I want to thank you. And then I know, everybody comes on with one thing in mind, even though maybe that might be the first thing is they want to get a hat, right?
Wait.
What's that?
Waiting for it.
You got your hat. It's actually, I mean, I don't know when I'm going to see you, so I'm going to make sure you get it quickly. I'm going to put it in the mail to you, even though you're 15 minutes away. And I actually will be in Hoboken next week. But anyway, man, this is coming to you. Thank you so much. That's it. We got Scott Einbinder coming next week, who is a great coach, great guy. And I don't know why I haven't had him on before, but he is an amazing individual. Jeff, just stay on for a second as we go out, if I can figure out how to do this, because there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to this system. And we're going to go right now with our beautiful faces. And there we go.